Before I start the analysis, this ad page from the Hindu newspaper caught my attention. Evolution of temple architecture in Tamil Nadu. Now, this can be important in respect to architectural context of evolution of temples. जितने भी styles हैं आपने जो study किया होगा ancient history में उसके respect में ये important है art and culture के respect में. तो आप इसको study कर लीजिएगा. I'm not asking you to buy this book because it's very expensive, but you can study it from different sources of internet also, specifically with respect to Tamil Nadu. आगे चलते हैं next topic पे. So our first topic for theme analysis is ISRO launches GSAT-7R, India's heavy communication satellite. The ISRO has successfully launched the India's Navy Advanced Communication Satellite GSAT-SR 7R, not SR 7R, or CMS-03 on Sunday from the Satish Dhawan Space Center in Sriharikota. इसका weight approximately 2250 kg है. The satellite is India's heaviest communication satellite to date and is a major milestone for strengthening the Navy's space-based communications and maritime domain awareness. So ISRO used its most powerful launch vehicle, the LVM-3 M5, to successfully place the satellite into a geosynchronous transfer object, GTO ऐसे कहते हैं short form में, geosynchronous transfer orbit. The satellite is equipped with state-of-art indigenous components and will provide robust and secure telecommunication coverage across the Indian Ocean region, supporting ships, submarines, aircrafts and maritime operation centers. So basically this is for maritime operations also. Basic जो communication रहेगा इसका, it would be in the Indian Ocean region. So the launch highlights India's growing self-reliance in space technology. Moving on to next topic. नेक्स्ट टॉपिक है आपका इंगेज द तालिबान डोंट रिकोगनाइज देम. अब ये जो टॉपिक है दिस इज़ इम्पॉर्टेंट विद रिस्पेक्ट टू इंटरनेशनल रिलेशंस इन यूपीएससी. सो what are the objectives or what is the basic theme context of this current affairs and topic? So basically they are talking about protection and preservation of India's multi-billion-dollar investments in Afghanistan, जो कि बात कर रहा है कि इंडिया शुड इंश्योर अफगानिस्तान टेरिटरी विच इज़ नॉट यूज्ड बाय एंटी इंडिया मिलिटेंट्स, एग्जाम्पल लश्कर ए तैयब, जैश ए मोहम्मद. दिस इज़ द प्राइमरी सिक्योरिटी कंसर्न. Also, India should facilitate humanitarian aid to Afghan people, address the safety and return of the Afghan Sikh and Hindu communities. Now, what are the key security concerns? Pakistan's deep state, the Taliban's resurgence is seen as a victory for Pakistani military establishments, which could lead to a proxy war against India from the Afghan soil. उसके अलावा और क्या concerns हैं? Terrorist groups like Jaish-e-Mohammed, specifically the presence of Haqqani network closely linked to Pakistan, and global jihadist groups like Al-Qaeda, ISKP and TTP in Afghanistan poses a threat to regional and global security. India needs assurance that these groups won't use Afghan territory. Now, if we talk about the long-term view, India seeks a durable political solution and a broad-based inclusive government. Kabul. The stability of Afghan will critically depend on its ability to integrate into the regional economy. Any decision on the formal recognition will depend on Taliban's conduct, rights, counterterrorism, inclusivity, and evolving international consensus. So this was the basic gist of this editorial. Next topic is the vision of model youth Gram Sabhas. Now, if we talk about the model youth Gram Sabha vision, तो इसका फाउंडेशन पर्पस क्या है? बेसिकली दिस बिल्ड्स अपॉन द स्पिरिट ऑफ ग्राम सभा, द कॉर्नरस्टोन ऑफ ग्रास रूट्स democracy, and is intended to be an unfamiliar and essential part of the democratic process. Now, if we talk about the legal and constitutional basis, it is rooted in Article 243A of the Constitution and the Panchayati Raj Act, which empowers every registered voter in a village to determine budgets, development plans, and governance priorities. Next, they are talking about empowering youth. So basically, this model aims to transform students into active, responsible citizens and future leaders by involving them in direct participatory democracy. It shifts the perception of the Gram Sabha and from the passive administrative concept to a dynamic learning environment. Now, if we talk about the core principles, the model promotes values like inclusion, accountability, participation, participatory democracy, transparency, and responsiveness by enabling the youth to make decisions affecting their community. Now, next, they are talking about implementation and scale. Phase 1 of the MYGS project, that is the Model Youth Gram Sabhas project, in collaboration with Ministry of Panchayati Raj. Now, this is in collaboration with Ministry of Panchayati Raj. ये एक important point है क्योंकि ये वन लाइनर क्वेश्चंस में आ सकता है. Is set to be launched across 3,000 schools or institutions and is aimed to train 1,200 master trainers and 24 state level teams. Civic education, it seeks to foster global citizenship, pride, and local leadership among the youth, preparing them to be aware of the daily rhythm of Indian democracy, unlike the traditional classroom setting. Next topic है आपका cruising ahead. India's shipping sector needs help from the government to thrive. So basically ये जो article है titled Cruising Ahead, this highlights the government renewed strategic focus on India's shipping sector, recognizing it as a strategic component, not just a business. Now, if we talk about the historical deadlines, so basically for nearly 2 decades, the sector has suffered under a liberalization framework and that diluted the government support and allowed the state-owned shipping corporation of India to decline. Post-pandemic realization, the COVID-19 pandemic served as a rude awakening, highlighting the strategic importance of shipping during disruptions and protectionism. Government initiatives are now focused on strengthening the SAI's fleet. Now, if we talk about the key investments and projects, much of the multi-core investment announced at the Maritime Week is port related. The government is transitioning the ports to a landlord model, sharing revenue with private and foreign investors, and funding new projects like the transshipment hub in the Andamans. Now, if we talk about the boost to allied businesses, there is a push for foreign shipping companies to register their ships in India via local subsidiaries. This aims to give the Indian government leverage and support heavy industries like insurance and the technically challenging shipbuilding sector, which historically saw little progress. Next, if we talk about the what is the future vision of it, India is poised to fully capitalize on new technologies like LNG ships and futuristic green fuel burning vessels, promising a robust future for the Indian shipping industry. Next topic है आपका the pitfalls of climate alarmism. So basically, this discusses the evolving climate stance of Bill Gates and critics the concept of climate alarmism. Gates' shifting view for over a decade, Gates carried the weight of authority in climate discourse, initially focused on apocalyptic urgency. He has since then softened his tone, acknowledging that reducing emissions may be slow but possible. So, critic of alarmism. The author argues the climate alarmism risks public panic and divert focus from addressing the very real but manageable threats. It suggests that alarmism could make societies more vulnerable by overweening resource allocation and ignoring the short-term capacity. Now, if we talk about the dangerous pivot, so Gates is praised for his pivot towards technological innovation and low carbon energy research, a shift that prioritizes invention over sacrifice. This contrasts with the previous alarmist framework of limits and cape and trade is of basic sense. I'm literally sorry, a call came, so I had to attend it. Alarmism affects the piece notes that global emissions continue to rise, especially in China, and highlights the uncertainties in emissions accounting. So it concludes that alarmism, simple prescriptions may be harmful, whereas Gates' new approach could truly move the needle. नेक्स्ट टॉपिक है आपका ट्रम्प वॉन्स नाइजीरिया ऑफ एड कट एंड मिलिट्री एक्शन ओवर द परसिक्यूशन ऑफ क्रिश्चियंस. नाउ दिस इज समवेयर ऑफ इंटरनेशनल रिलेशंस एंड जियोपॉलिटिकल कंटेक्स्ट. ये जो टॉपिक है आपका बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट है. नाउ दिस इज क्रिएटिंग अ वर्ल्ड वॉर लाइक सिचुएशन. सो यूएस प्रेसिडेंट डोनाल्ड ट्रंप ने थ्रेटन किया है सैटरडे को टू सेंड मिलिट्री इनटू नाइजीरिया विथ guns blazing if Africa's most populous country does not stem what he described as the killing of Christians by the Islamists. In an explosive post, the Republican leader said that on social media he asked the Pentagon to map out a possible plan of the attack. One day after the warning that Christianity was facing an existential threat from in the Nigeria is embroiled in numerous conflicts that experts say have killing both Christians and Muslims without distinctions. So if Nigerian government continues to allow the killing of Christians, the USA will immediately stop all aid and assistance to Nigeria and may very well go into that now disgraced country. Guns are blazing to completely wipe out the Islamic terrorists who are committing these horrible atrocities. So this is the last topic of the day. Hexet says US and China agree to set up direct military channels. So US Defense Secretary Pete Hexet said on Sunday that Washington, Beijing would establish military to military communication channels, adding that bilateral ties between the countries have never been better. So Mr. Hexet said he spoke with his Chinese counterpart Admiral Dong Chun late on Saturday on the sidelines of a regional security meeting, and that they agreed that peace, stability and good relations are the best path for our two great and strong countries. His remarks posted on X, that is the Twitter, came hours after he urged Southeast Asian nations to stand firm and strengthen their maritime forces to counter the China's increasing destabilizing effect and actions in the South China Sea. So this is of very much geopolitical importance. So China's sweeping territorial and maritime claims in South China Sea fly in the face of their commitments to resolve the dispute peacefully. Mr. Hexet said at a meeting with his counterparts from the Association of Southeast Asian Nations on Saturday, "We seek peace, we do not seek conflict. But we must ensure that China is not seeking to dominate you or anybody else," he added. Beijing claims almost the entire region, while the Philippines, Vietnam, Malaysia and Brunei also claim ownership of the coastal areas and features. So यहाँ पर आपको क्या देखना है बेसिकली कि ये जो रीजन्स आपको बताए गए हैं वियतनाम, मलेशिया, इनके जियोलॉजिकल लोकेशंस आप देख लीजिएगा. Geographically this is important and geopolitically also this is very important. So that's all for the day. Here I end my analysis. Thank you and have a nice day. I request you to like, subscribe and share my channel.